Hello from the car studio, and today it's my pleasure to welcome Ola Boström from Veoneer. He is the Vice President Government and Regulatory Affairs, and he did some traffic research since 1995. So he has a good overview of the topics of the last years. And this year, Veoneer is a SafetyWeek partner for the first time. Hello, Ola. Good morning. And maybe you would like to share your motivation to participate in the SafetyWeek this year.
Oh, yes. And hello, good morning, Maren. And thank you for that nice introduction. I'm highly motivated after being in digital conferences the last 2 years. I'm super excited to meet people in real. I believe that it's not only the sort of the fun part I'm looking forward to. It's something more important as well, and that is the collaboration among traffic safety researchers and experts and engineers. That is so essential for driving safety forward. Traffic safety is not really competition; it's collaboration, and to collaborate, you need to have to meet in person as well.
Yeah, so that's what we like in real life conferences too. So we are very happy to welcome all of our participants and speakers and partners on site and make it happen that with a cup of coffee, you get into some discussions, you get a new part of your network, and you just make sure that your contacts are still active and that you can share some thoughts and some ideas. And this is what we really prefer in doing on-site conferences. Of course, we have to allow the option of being there online, because not everybody is able to travel at the moment. We have still have some travel restrictions, but I hope to see you there.
Yeah, thank you. And I believe that what happened the last years with these digital conferences and hybrid conferences, as we see now going forward, it's a very good sort of new step into making conferences, because it's getting more democratic and there are more people getting access to conferences than before. So I think we should really continue doing that. But once in a while, you need to be there in person. And again, for me personally, it was more than 2 years ago. So I'm really, really excited. And on the topic of collaboration, I would like to expand that we have been in the hype of autonomy for so many years, and we're still in media and among customers talking about autonomy. And I think we should talk more about collaboration, and I think that is the sort of the real hype, and the what is coming out of this is the collaboration, and I'm not referring now to between experts and engineers and so forth. It's in the traffic where I believe that, or Veoneer believes that the future is collaborated driving, where the driver is collaborating with the vehicle, and the vehicle is collaborating with other vehicles, and the vehicle are collaborating with the infrastructure, the environment.
Okay, so what are the main topics discussed actually in this area of ADAS, automated driving, everything in between? So what is your personal highlight, maybe?
I mean, the highlight here is to from a research point of view, understand what is working, what works. I mean, both from the aspect of the technology as such, working in different environments, to be robust enough, but also what people, the human beings that is behind, so inside the vehicles and outside the vehicles, what they are accepting and or sort of embracing. So my highlight is basically to understand what works, And to understand that, again, I'm coming back to the sort of the non-competition here, the collaboration. We need to do that together, suppliers and OEMs, and bring in the end customer even more to understand, what works.
Yeah, because until now it was very easy. You come into a car, you find your gas pedal on the right-hand side, and then you can start driving. And now you have to have a little more knowledge in how to work with your car to make it help you drive safely or comfortably, something like this. So it's not that intuitive. Maybe today, and it's more needed to put in the driver or the user into the chain and make sure that he is understanding what the car can do for him or her.
Yes. So again, the user is the key here going forward in the sort of future of ADAS, I believe. And if I start with the human being as such in the traffic, the human being is using all its senses, not only sort of what you can see, it's what you can hear, and it's what you can even smell. And if you smell all of a sudden a fire outside the car, that is probably making you change the way you drive, because you realize there's something coming up here. And in the same way as people are using all the senses and compensate. I mean, if you can drive a car even if you can't hear, basically, right? Because you do compensate. The same goes with ADAS. I believe that we need to have all frequencies that are available. And as for Veoneer, we are making sensors. We make cameras, thermal cameras, radars, lidars, and all of those sensors are both complementing each other and also can compensate each other, and they are all used to prevent a crash. That is the sort of the first or the main purpose. So basically prevent, and if that is not possible, to mitigate the consequences of a crash. And if that is not possible, we are also manufacturing, designing restraint control units, which is firing the airbags and the belt. So in short, I would say Veoneer makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good statement. So maybe we could take a look at which kind of senses. So you have a history in passive safety research, you have experience in active safety research, you have some things going on during a crash within the car, you did some neck injuries research, and maybe you see some new focuses in passive safety now, which can be maybe assisted by active safety programs in a way. So maybe you could explain this a little. What is happening inside the car? What is happening outside? And what how can this be improved by sensing and control units?
Yeah, that gets me excited, really. I mean, we have in the industry as well, we've been talking about integrated safety, where we normally refer to use a sort of the best of active and passive together to make 1 + 1 being 3 or more. And I don't see we have really succeeded as an industry, because I think this is where we're coming now. Now is the good time for that, because so far the active safety has been, again, preventing and mitigating, and then in the end you fire the airbags and the belts. Now, as you brought up, what we could do as an industry and I mean OEMs and suppliers, is to really use active safety sensing to enhance the passive safety. Basically design the triggering of the airbags and the belt, the forces of the belt, the different sort of the way you inflate the airbags, pending on what is coming up. And so far we really haven't been able to trust the sensing from the active to do that. And I think that is what is coming up as a next step. And one key sensing here, and I didn't bring this up, I actually even forgot to bring that up. Another sensor that is so important, and Veoneer is also producing, is the driver monitoring sensing sensor. Driver monitoring sensing or internal cabin sensing of some sort. We are both producing cameras and radars actually inside the car. And now this is coming as more or less state of the art in vehicles or in personal cars. And I think that could also be the sort of the big change for using active safety for passive safety, to see in reality the occupants in a car and decide on how to design the triggering of airbags and belts.
Yeah. So which kind of data would you measure in the cabin, and how exactly would you use it? Is it just the driver is there, or the driver is a tall guy or a small female, or what exactly are you monitoring there?
Yeah, yes, I will answer that question, but I think it's the first. I mean, we have to do things maybe beforehand. That I mean the severity of the crash is a more important factor, and that has nothing to do, of course, to the occupant. But when we come to the next step where we can take some measure of a human being, it could be the distance to the airbag. I mean, in the past, I mean, basically the distance, right? Not to start with the size or the age or the sex. That's what we have been discussing for many years, because but the distance first.
Yeah.
And the way we have designed belts and airbags is basically to accomplish, which is a good thing, right? They are robust enough to incorporate or take into account different distances. But I think that we can do it even more optimized by understanding the distance. When it comes to age, as a fact, a person that is aging, and the sorry fact is that you start aging very quickly. But if you go to senior people above 60, I'm saying a number which is higher than myself. I'm pushing it forward.
As long as for the researcher, this is your good right.
Exactly. But what happens with the body is basically you get more frail, but you also get more fragile. So you easily break, but the consequences of a rib fracture, just to take an example, is getting more complicated, and you can even die out of even one rib fracture if you are at a certain age. Which is sort of not relevant for if you are like 20 years old. If you rib one rib or two, that really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So this is something we have known for a long time in this industry, where basically the belts and the airbags are designed more on an average, and in sort of taking into account both people with both senior people and young people. And I think we've done a pretty good job here, and it's hard to say that we could have done it better, because we haven't really have had sensing in the car to rely on information that we change the triggering. So that's what I really see as coming up, is to take decisions to make a softer sort of restraint for at least senior people in a crash which is not so severe.
Yeah. So, and looking to the future, we have some complete other situations within this vehicle cabin. We have maybe different positions during automated driving. We have people driving, for example, with some disabilities, which were not able to drive before, but when the car is doing all the job. So it's much more likely to have them seated in the front row. So maybe this could be the next challenge, to find out where are they within this cabin, and which people do I have there, and how to protect them properly.
I agree. I mean, there's so many things we can do, and that's why sort of I want to, and I mean, we need to sort of come to sense and start and sort of pick the lowest hanging fruits first, which is basically the severity, and then the distance to the occupant, and then how frail and fragile the occupant is. But I agree. I mean, who are the people there, and how are they seated? I think in the foreseeable future, even in a car with level 3 possibility, which is coming up hopefully already this year, the occupants need actually to sit quite. No, not quite. They have to actually sit as they already are seated. They cannot
properly
move around. They cannot. They have to be belted. They have to be there. And I'm not even sure if you can recline. But bring it. But I mean, you got me going there when you said moving around. At least I see as it would be great to be able to recline the seat a bit more, and then the seat to go back in position or something like that. That would be one way. But it's more visionary right now. But I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, but to be honest, the seat can be reclined by hand already today. So people are doing this.
They do it, but it's not safe.
Yeah, sure. But most of them are not really aware of this risk.
No. So let's make it safe, even if people are already doing it. And I think that is something which is sort of you ask for highlights. I think there are a lot of sort of very small highlights coming up in the future, not so revolutionary, like, as I said, reclining the seat. And you say, people are already doing it. Yes. So let's make that safe, and people will not even notice.
Yeah. Something like submarining. Nobody needs submarining in the world. So maybe if you can erase this by sensing in a very good way, to give the control unit good information to make decisions, like to fire some belt pretensioners a little earlier or later, or more or less. So this would be a great scenario, just to make sure one fits all, because the control unit has much more options to decide when or where or to fire what. So this would be a good vision.
It's a good vision, and it brings in the user here. I mean, we talk about acceptance of active safety, and now we're talking about sort of the user in terms of coming in different needs and different positions here. So again, the user is so important.
So which kind of new technologies would you expect in the next few years, or maybe in the next 10 or 20 years? Which will be the new highlights in sensing, in restraint systems, in whatever makes cars safer for the people driving them?
Yeah, so I'd say first we have to come to senses. Sorry to repeat that, but I mean, first thing is to really use what we have, because the last years it's been a dramatic change in terms of how many. I mean, what is the sensor set in the car, and I think the first thing is to expand, or to secure that and expand it. And if we talk radars, for example, there will be most likely 8 radars in a normal car coming up, and a few cameras, right? and the driving monitoring. So basically, what I see future is a scaling of number of sensors, and but more important, to scale it, to have it in all sort of vehicles. I think when we did safety back in the days, it was coupled to your own personal safety. So you were better off if you had a heavy vehicle with a lot of airbags. And this is turning around. You are better off if your the vehicles around you have even better sensors than you, because then they will not crash into you.
Yeah.
So things are changing from sort of, you look at from your view of what you're seated in. You're more concerned, at least I'm more concerned, about the vehicles around me. So
this would be a good link to the interview with André Seeg, because he was really celebrating the moment when compatibility was rated for the first time in the UNCAP protocol. So you will be very happy with your sentence right now.
Very good point. The old dreams we had in this community of compatibility and integrated safety, bringing active and passive together. I think this is what we want to see in the future. This is sort of the visionary thinking from my point of view, the coming 10 years or 20 years even. The scaling up of in general, but really have compatible cars, not only sort of in terms of height and so forth from a passive point of view, but also in terms of ADAS equipment. I think the third thing here, I mean, we have integrated safety, we have compatibility, but the third thing is sustainability. And it's something which is not a choice these days, because we are suppliers here at Veoneer. Our OEMs is basically demanding us to be fossil free and so forth, and I think that is also what we will see coming up. That these sensors and the way you compute it's a demand that it must be sustainable in terms of the way you produce it, the material, the weight of the sensing, and also the way you compute here, because this is something which is happening right now, basically a revolution where the computation is going from the sensors, then they will remain there to some part, but this sort of central computing is a very strong trend right now. And you don't need to stop there. I mean, you can do the computation even outside the car. You don't need to have all the muscles in your car if you want to scale this up. You could do computation outside the car, thanks to sort of 5G network coming up as a trend here as well.
Yeah, but maybe the stability of this 5G network is not, let's say, proper in every area around maybe Germany. So for us, we have still locations in Germany where you even can do some cell phone calling. So yeah, how about robustness? How will you make sure that everything works? We have today some issues with radar sensors used for distance controlling, and when you have some snow on them, they switch off and the function is released. And how to make it stable and robust, and to let the user have some trust in it, that it works even in bad weather conditions, and not only with sunny weather and perfect 5G network.
And Mary, I think that what you bring up now is I think it's the most important topic of all. I mean, if you can't trust what you have here in technology, it will not work. I mean, that we talked about the importance to understand what works, and if you don't even understand as a user if it works or not, it's really bad. So the way I see it is that transparency is the first thing for the user to understand what the car can do. I mean, an analogy with driving two human beings in the car, you have a pretty good understanding of the other person's abilities, and you're okay with that, right? Because you're transparent and you can see the person, all sort of mimic and face and what's not,
and
breathing,
can comment,
right?
if you don't like what you see.
Exactly. So for sensing, I think you need to be, the car needs to be transparent, and basically if the radar can't see, either you have other frequencies, which is better. If a thermal camera or a lidar can complement you, the vehicle doesn't need to tell the user that, sorry, I'm blinded for the radars. You just go on. But if you come to the next step, that even the lidar goes blind or everything goes blind, the car needs to communicate that in some way, to say, hey, I'm sorry, you can't go level 3 anymore. You can't even go level 2. You're on your own here, and you should slow down. I mean, that I think that communication is key here for creating this trust. And I think when you brought up trust, I think this goes two ways. It's not only for the user to trust the car. It is as important for the car to trust the user as well, because I think that is when trust is created, when it's mutual. So the car really, and again, with the driver monitoring sensing, that is also key for the car to okay, the person seems to be at least awake, and is reacting and normal and so forth, and then the car can be more sort of putting driving tasks in another way to the driver.
The handover is easier if somebody's responding.
The handover is easier, but not only the handover. It could also be decisions like the way you go around the bend. I mean, there are so many. I mean, I hear so many stories from end users switching off ADAS today because they don't feel like it, right? And that's a pity. And that brings us into personalized technology. I think that is also a future highlight, that we will see sort of personalization of ADAS, and that personalization you can even take with you from your home to your car to another car. And that, I think, will sort of one of the enablers of this personalization is this revolution of the way you will compute, centralized, even outside the car, and so forth.
Yeah, so the car would be ready, but the infrastructure still have to increase the pace a little.
Yes. So back to this question, or you brought up the sort of unrobustness. Even during this interview, I've been fiddling with my phone for many reasons. So the technology is we have challenges, right?
Yeah.
So the way I see this is as a researcher, and what we do sort of experiments on the field is or field tests, is that we cannot rely on one frequency. I mean, we cannot only rely on a camera. We need to have at least cameras and radars and driver monitoring, but we should also I mean, this is so much. I mean, I think we should need to have a personalized ADAS, because that will make the user trust the system even more, because you will basically like it, right? But on top of that, the ADAS must be depending on the circumstances. So back to Germany and 5G, for example, there will be places in Germany where it's dense traffic, and there will be 5G, right? And then you can have ADAS for dense traffic with a lot of people walking, bicycling, coming on e-scooters around you. And guess what? In these circumstances, you have 5G, and let's use it at that time.
Yeah.
And when you come in the rural area, you don't have 5G, but you don't have e-scooters either. So I think the ADAS should be sort of be depending on the circumstances, and we should explore possibilities that may not be applicable on the rural, but could be applicable in the city.
So it depends on the human-machine interface or interaction. If the human who's using the help of the car to navigate through such a crowded area prefers using the ADAS system or switching it off because it's unnerving, or if you can choose some preferences like information levels or something like this, then the likelihood that they use it is much higher than switching it off.
Yes. And I think when you brought up this sort of this switching off in an area with a lot of people around, I mean that's today would be quite normal, right? Because you can't basically rely on the car that is braking all the time. But if you would be more, if the car or if the vehicle knows more than you, take an example. Let's say, let's be visionary here, and let's say the vehicle can see around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay. In the city, I mean, and that is possible if you have a communication, right? If and you don't need even the 5G. I mean, you can start with 4G. If you know that is sort of what is happening around, not you, but the vehicle knows it.
Yeah.
The vehicle can prepare in a much better way for what is coming up. And so this is not sort of the emergency brake, really. It's more before that. What is the good speed here on this street when you can see around the corner?
Yeah, this could be a real advantage, and I think it all depends on the communication between the car and the passenger, or the driver, or the user, or however we call them, depending on the level of automation. But if the driver or the user has a base knowledge of the functionality or the boundary condition the function needs to perform in a proper way, then this could help a lot. But nobody is reading the handbook. So how to make sure that car and user understand each other? What do you think? What could be an option there? If
I may be visionary,
yes,
my vision is that if we have this conversation in 10 years, we would not use the word ADAS.
Yeah,
we would not talk about sort of assistant functions because it would be not visible. This technology, I mean, my vision is that the technology is not visible. It's a bit like an airbag. You don't see the airbag; it's hidden.
Yeah,
it's just there, and it's doing its right job when it's needed. And if we can bring ADAS in the same way, where you basically don't see it, it's visionary, but I think we can go there.
I think this would help a lot because you have so many users just choosing a car maybe by the color or by the size of the motor or something like that. And the effort to make sure that you know about all the functionality or the safety equipment, I think not all of the customers will do this effort to make sure they know which car they are buying or the reasons why they buy exactly this car. Maybe for a family, it's something different. They look that their kids are safe in some kind, but yeah, not every customer is doing so much research to find out what the car can do for him. Just have some preferences about the brand, and then the decision is almost done. So it would be great if we could lift these ADAS systems on a level that they are completely normal and that everyone is familiar with this, and that we do not need to switch them off because we do not have any safety warnings or something like this, so that they are completely reliable. This would be a great vision. So I would prefer this.
So let's make an appointment in 10 years and then see what we will discuss.
Let's see how far we gone. So what else would you think would it take to continue on the Vision Zero road trip? So we had driver monitoring, we had integrated safety, we had comfortability. Are there any other highlights we could expect or we could dream of during the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, it's getting harder and harder, of course, at least in Germany and Sweden, because we are already in a much lower fatality rate and severely injured rate than 10 years or 20 years back. So the bad news, it's really hard for going forward. Well, it's not hard, but you will not see sort of the same reduction as we have seen. It's going to take more effort. Yeah. But having said that, it sort of, I mean, taken on a global scale, we have to export what we've done in these countries to export the good sort of Vision Zero infrastructure thinking. I'm referring to that as well. Yep. To the rest of the world and bring in all this new ADAS. But apart from integrated safety and compatibility, I think I have to refer to sustainability again, because actually the last conference I attended more than 2 years ago, it was actually in Stockholm, a global meeting for traffic safety regulators around the world. Mm-hmm. And sort of decision was to not, I mean, have indivisible goals, this sort of global goals, not to say that we sort of we optimize for traffic safety in a vehicle. We should not sort of optimize on itself. It should go together with sustainability. So I'm sorry to say that we have to sort of make this game even harder. Not just bring safety forward, but make it sustainable.
Okay, and now coming maybe to the near future of what is Veoneer doing during the next few years? What can we expect there?
Yeah, and that's a good question, because we are in a transformational mode here in this company, but we have a very tough year here with 125 vehicle launches coming up. It's so
you were busy.
And I mean, and that is what we have sort of here in the near future, and just to give you and sort of understanding of what we're talking about here. If we take the last year, we had 3 launches that was interesting to mention, because they all 3 came on the top of Euro NCAP rating, and then it was the Subaru Outback with the eyesight, the stereo camera. It was the Daimler EQ2 and EQS with the forward-looking camera and the radars and ADAS. Yes, and we also launched the Polestar 2 with the our new generation mono at that time. This was last year, right? And the front radar and the ADAS ECU. So we have a good sort of track record here, and 125 launches, and we have a strategic collaboration with Qualcomm and all our former colleagues at Arriver that was bought out by Qualcomm. So we are all really excited to what is coming up in the near future here.
Yeah, so we wish you all the best for the near future. So you will be busy, I think. So we need a lot of components in the cars. We need sensing in the front, in the back, in the interior. So we need it everywhere. I think there will be no way without sensing in future.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. Again, here we have it. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting you at the Safety Week and continue this discussion. And it would be great to have you there in person and to welcome you and to talk to all of you at the screens at home or in your home office or in the office, wherever you are. So we from Cars, and I think Ola, you too, we wish you all the best. Stay healthy, and let's meet at the Safety Week. So thank you for today.
Thank you so much, and let's meet at the SafetyWeek.